Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit, and we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, looking at one or another of the readings that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what we call the daily office lectionary. And today we are continuing our way through St. Luke's Gospel, one of the readings that are appointed for morning prayer. Yesterday we talked about the widow and the widow putting in of her substance compared to the rich, and yet even that is accountable as perhaps not as important because of the reality that the temple itself, to where she is giving her gift, is in fact also going to be destroyed. It will disappear over time. So it is certainly something for us to think about, that how important it is for us to give, and yet, because we need to learn generosity, we need to learn how to be detached from material things in order to cling on to the things that are important, the things of God, and yet all those things will pass away. And so that was the beginning of the reading that's actually appointed for today. We started about the widow yesterday, and then we talked about the temple being destroyed, which was actually part of today's lesson. But then Jesus jumps off from that point in today's lesson to begin to talk about the end times and the reality that those who are your family and those who are your friends may turn on you if, in fact, you come to the fullness of the faith. And that's very hard for us to imagine that will be true. But here's Jesus' words, again, the 21st chapter. And then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs that be from heaven. And I know you're joking and saying, gee, sounds like 2020. But it's not quite what he's predicting, but stay with us here. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and unto the prisons, and being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay. And they that shall be betrayed, both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and from all of them shall cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess ye your souls. Now, this doesn't sound like good news, does it? I mean, quite frankly, it sounds pretty terrifying. But the reality is that one of the things that Jesus does say is that before we build the tower, we need to count the cost. And we need to be honest with ourselves about what real, authentic Christianity will mean. It has been for a long time that Christianity's been polite, that Christianity's been acceptable. And I think those days are starting to go by the wayside here in America. We've become very much accustomed to the worship of the age, that we've become very much accustomed to the worship of the self, which is all parts of our fallen condition anyway. And the reality is that we are coming to the point where Christians are beginning to be ostracized, beginning to be pushed out to the outer circles. Those traditional positions that Christians hold about things like pro-life, things like the sanctity of all human beings, are being pushed to the margins by a new and popular culture, including the way that we are to hold our vessels, our own bodies. The whole culture, the world, the devil seems to be in charge of all that stuff, and it's pressing the Christian worldview out to the externals and actually being berated and made fun of. And so some of what Jesus is saying here, now he's talking certainly to those in the immediate vicinity who are listening to him at that moment, and all of that does come true for them in that time place, that they will be brought to the synagogues and they will be persecuted and they will have to give an account. And Jesus says, don't worry about what you're going to say, because if you're being prayerful, if you're know the scriptures, and if you know who Jesus is, God the Holy Spirit will give you the words to say as a testimony when they accuse you. Just be the church, right? Live the church. Be prayerful. Come to know who Jesus is. The more you're formed like Jesus, the more you'll be able to answer like Jesus when you're called to account. So it's true for those in that immediate area, but it continues to be true for us today as well, brothers and sisters. So I don't mean to scare you. I don't mean to terrify you. But the reality is that as we are following Jesus more closely, we are going to look less and less like the world wants people to look like, and that's okay. I've said this before, but I had a friend when I was in high school, he was one of the seminarians who was a part of the dormitory staff. And years later, when he was ordained a priest and I was heading to seminary, he took me aside and he said, with some excitement in his voice, he said, "Steve, this is such an exciting time to become a priest because in our lifetime, the martyrdoms are coming." Now, I know that sounds absolutely insane to you, that would be exciting. But the reality is that if we are living the fullness of the faith, we may end up being pushed to the outside. We'll be pushed to the fringe, we'll be pushed to the margin, and they will try to marginalize us. But God, you can't put God in the corner. It just doesn't work that way. And if we are allowing him to form our lives and to be the central locus, the central focus of our lives, then these things will be made manifest. And even if the hard comes, even if the persecution comes, it will be all joy. So that's something to think about on Saturday. I'm sorry it doesn't sound like happy news, but it is good news because it's the good news of God in Jesus Christ. May you have a wonderful Saturday. God bless you.